Welcome back to another video. My project for today is I'll be working on some brakes and prepping them for something special. But first, I'm going to give you a little update on the CR250 build. Alright, this is how she sits. I've got the pegs and triples mounted up on the frame, and the frame is bolted down to the scissor lift. So most likely, I'll finish up the engine, get it bolted in, and then start building around that. Alright, coming over to the shelf here. Suspension's all built, ready to go. Swing arms ready to bolt on, and then the wheels are completely done. That's a big deal. And then coming up to the workbench where nothing is put together. Engine is completely apart all the way down the crank, tranny, cases, clutch, all that. So I'll be getting parts in soon, and I'll be starting the build process. One more box over here, a bunch of fresh aluminum pieces. So I've got a lot of stuff that's ready to go. The biggest thing holding it up is the engine. But I'm in no hurry. I'm just taking my time and enjoying every step of the process. Okay, on to today's project. I'll be disassembling all the brakes, sending off the master cylinders for welding, and then prepping everything for ceramic coating. So the reason I have two front brake systems here is because I'll be using a different front master cylinder. I prefer the ones off of a newer CRF. This one's off of a 15 CR450. So I'm just going to rob the cylinder off of it and sell the rest of it. I find that the newer master cylinders work a lot smoother than the older ones. Here's the difference between the two master cylinders. This is the one off this 03 CR250, and this is the 15. The 15 uses a pushrod style that has a lot of free motion in it, whereas the 03 just uses a fixed piston. So there's a lot more friction with the 03 or the older style, whereas the newer style has a much smoother lever action. This is kind of getting off topic, but while I'm on the subject of using newer parts, there's a few more things I robbed off the 15 as well. So I've got the pegs and peg mounts too. The peg mounts have this little dirt shield in front of it, and then the pegs are a lot wider and they don't pack up with mud as easily. And then I've got brake rotors off of a newer CRF as well. These things look so much better than the ones that came on the 03. And all this stuff just bolts right on. Alright, enough chatter. The first thing to knock out is to tear apart these CRF brakes. I'm going to pull these master cylinders apart and get them ready for welding. I'll tell you about the welding a little bit later on. So I think there are circlips underneath the rubber boots here, and that should expose the piston, and I'll be able to pull the guts out of the cylinder. I've got the push rod out, and pulling this boot should expose the circlip. Yep, as you can see there's a circlip down in there, and once I pull that, the internals will come out of the cylinder. These are the circlip pliers that I'll be using. Just got two fine points here on the end. I had to switch out the tips on the pliers for the angled ones since it's a really tight fit down here in the cylinder. So I rotated that circlip around so I have enough of a gap here just to squeeze the pliers in and access that clip. This is a really tight fit. It's gonna be tough getting this clip out of here. Since I will be Cerakoting these master cylinders, all the plastic, glass, and rubber has to come off. So there's a little plastic cap here on the inside of the reservoir, and I'll need to pop that out. That's all there is to the front master. Actually a lot less parts than I was imagining. Now I'm going to see what I can do with the rear. The rear is much of the same, just a circlip underneath the boot. I've got these master cylinders completely apart now, and like I said earlier, I'll be Cerakoting them, so this glass is going to be an issue. And that's why I'm sending them out to get welded. So both of these sight windows are going to be closed off and welded shut. I'm sending them out to Clayton over at Trick Engineering to do the work. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of him. He does some amazing machining work, and he does Cerakoting as well. The biggest reason why people weld the sight windows is because if something hits it, such as a rock from roost, you'll lose your brake fluid and therefore your brakes. But for me, it's mostly so I can Cerakote them, but also doesn't hurt to not have to worry about breaking those sight windows too. Just for the heck of it, since these sight windows are getting taken out anyways, I'm gonna see how strong they are. I've always been curious about that. So say you're ripping along and someone kicks up a rock this size, and just by chance it hits your sight window. Let's see what would happen. So I've been hammering on this glass with the rock, and it's actually quite a bit stronger than I imagined. Not really doing much to it. Let's see what the front sight window is like. So all in all, the sight windows are actually pretty strong, but I can't simulate throwing a rock at 60 miles an hour coming off a rear tire either. So there's that. All right, the masters are ready to ship out for welding, and as soon as I get them back, I'll be Cerakoting them. So I mentioned Trick Engineering a little bit earlier. For you guys that want to have your sight windows welded up or any machining work or Cerakoting done, make sure you get a hold of Clayton over at Trick Engineering. He is the master of Cerakoting, by the way. I'll put his website down below. At the very least, just go check out his Instagram. He's got some amazing work over there. Now it is time to strip down the calipers. And I'll be trying out this Motion Pro caliper piston tool that I grabbed from Rocky Mountain. So from the looks of it, this Motion Pro tool fits inside the piston, just like so. And then you tighten down the Allen head on the end, and that'll lock the tool into the piston, and now you have leverage to remove the piston from the caliper. I was able to work the piston most of the way out with the tool, and I should be able to get the last little bit with my hand. Just be really careful not to scratch the piston when it pops out. I'm definitely glad I'm going through this caliper. You can see down inside the caliper there's little rubber bits from the seals, and the seals are a little eaten up as well. Another method for pushing out the pistons is to put some compressed air into the caliper, and that'll push the pistons out. But make sure you tuck a rag in where the pistons sit, that way they don't come flying out. Since my air compressor gun just has this fine point on it, I'll be blowing air into the banjo bolt. And if you have a 2-piston caliper like this one, you may have to hold one piston so that way the other one will come out. So I put the piston I pulled out back in, and I'm gonna hold it with a socket and a clamp here. So that should hold this piston in while I can push the other one out. As you can see, this other piston is starting to work its way out. Just gonna keep blowing some more air into the banjo bolt. Alright, I pulled the clamp off, and I should be able to get both pistons out with just applying a little bit more air. I was able to get both pistons out of the caliper without somehow hurting myself. Now I'm just gonna inspect them, make sure there's no nicks or scratches here on the outside surface of the piston. They both look pretty good, so no need for replacement on these. Now for removing the seals out of the caliper, I'll be using this 90-degree pick. And you gotta be really careful not to scratch the inside bore of the caliper. With the rear caliper being a single piston, this one should be easy peasy. Now there's just a couple things left to pull off the calipers to prep them for Cerakote, mainly the rubber pieces, the bleeder valve, and the carrier pins. As you can see, I've got the brakes completely apart, and real quick, I'm just going to pick the winner for the giveaway from the last video. I've got my comment picker pulled up here. Just going to run the video through, and it'll pick a complete random comment for you guys. See how many comments we got. 990, not bad. All right, who we got? Jeff Segilia says 2010 CR250R. So Jeff, send me a message here on YouTube with your shipping address, and I'll have Rocky Mountain ship you one of these wrenches. With that out of the way, it is time to do some Cerakoting. I'll be coating the caliper carriers, master cylinder caps, and a few other odds and ends. And I'll wait until I get those masters back from welding to do the calipers and master cylinders. I'm going to clean up a few of these pieces over here on the buffer using the rough Scotch-Brite wheel that's available over on my website. And what this is going to do is remove all the lettering and bring these parts to a nice clean finish. Alright, I've got these parts all cleaned up and looking good, and now I've got the sanding drum set up on the buffer, and this is going to flatten out the master cylinder covers perfectly. I've got these parts sanded down and looking pretty, and now the first step in the Cerakoting process is to soak these parts in acetone for 30 minutes. One thing I came across to use for a container for acetone is some plastics are safe to use with acetone. If you flip it over, and on the bottom here we've got the little triangle. If it says PP underneath the triangle or HDPE, that means it is safe to use with acetone, or this type of plastic will hold up to acetone. So I'll be using this one for the soaking process. And I'm sure most of you know, acetone evaporates really quickly, so nice to have a lid to contain the acetone in the container. The next step is sandblasting. This is what it looks like after the parts have been sandblasted. And now I'm going to hang them from the rack and run them through the oven for a preheat. I'm going to let these parts cool off, and in the meantime, I'm going to mix up some Cerakote materials. This time around, I'm going to go with a tungsten color, and I'm going to mix the color and the catalyst at a 12:1 ratio. After an hour of curing, these guys should be good to go. So I'm gonna pull them out and take a look at them. Looking sweet. Pretty dang excited about this color. Turned out awesome. It should look really good with the calipers and master cylinders. Speaking of them, what color do you think I should do on them? I've done a tungsten, this color right here, and a burnt bronze on the triple clamps. So what color do you think would look good? Write it down below. I've got a quick update for you guys on Prime MX. Just got some new inventory in stock, and I'll be launching it this upcoming Sunday, April 15th at 10 a.m. Pacific. That's 1 p.m. Eastern. So this hat right here will be part of the launch. It is similar to the other style I had, just with a few minor changes. And I've also got a new hat style as well. All right, here is the new hat style. All black with a curved bill. Got mesh on the back and a snapback. Just a nice, clean, simple look with some subtle text here for you guys that like minimal branding. And the other hat is pretty similar, just with a heather gray front. And the embroidery is actually 3D. Looks super cool. So I got a feeling these are gonna sell out really quick, just like the previous launch did. So mark your calendars for Sunday, April 15th. So the next video on the brakes will be Cerakoting the calipers and master cylinders. Let me know what color you think I should do. And I've also got everything to completely rebuild the brakes. So that video will be coming soon too. And big thank you to Rocky Mountain for sending over this stuff. Alright, that's it for today's video. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Take care.